Hi guys, Rob from Royal Balls. This is the fourth part of my genetic series. It's time for the new reveal. This is a snake that I picked up from ARP Constrictors about 3 weeks ago, and you can see that it is a very dark snake. This is a camo sable or super sable pinstripe, and this is a female. It's a female yearling. So this is a new gene to my collection. I do already have pinstripe, but I don't have sable, and sable might be a new gene to many of you, so I'll just stick up a picture of the sable gene for everybody to see. And the sable gene, think black pastel, but much more subtle than black pastel. You see that the sable gene itself doesn't look much different to a normal, and it's only when you get the super sable picture coming up on screen now that you start to see the full dark expression of the sable gene. So a super sable actually looks a little bit like a black pastel, but there are very subtle differences. When you mix it with pinstripe, the power of the sable gene is not what it does on its own, it's what it does in combination with other genes. And this is pinstripe, and I'll show you a picture of the sable pin, and you can see that the sable adds contrast to the snake but doesn't break up the classic pinstripe pattern, whereas the super sable now breaks up that classic pinstripe. You can barely see the pinstripe striping down the side, and it starts to put this wavy, camouflagey looking line against the side of the dorsal stripe, hence the name camo sable. This looks like a camouflage version of the pinstripe. So this animal is the super form of sable. It is a female. She does have some growing to do, but the reason that I picked up this snake, it did become available following the video that I shot of the camo sable to Mojave GHI clutch that we looked at ARP Constrictors, and the outcome of that clutch was much better than I expected, so it's tempted me onto the dark side. I do have a Mojave GHI to pair her with in the future, so we'll be looking to produce some really dark combos from this snake. So the genetics that are in her, she has 2 copies of the sable gene and 1 copy of the pinstripe gene. So let's just take a look from a genetic standpoint of what her parents would need to be to produce her. So we'll get the genetics table out for one last time, male and female, and we know she's a superform, and superforms can't recreate themselves. There are 2 copies of the sable gene in the mix, but we need to have a copy in both parents in order to produce the superform. The superform has to come 1 copy from one parent, 1 copy from the other parent. So her parents were, male and female were both sables. She's also carrying 1 copy of the pinstripe gene, so one of the parents was also a pinstripe. So one of the parents was a sable pinstripe, and one of the parents was just a straight sable. So when we do the genetic calculation of that, we go sable to normal, or sable to sable. So this is sable to normal, sable to sable, normal to normal, no copies in this square, and normal to sable, so 1 copy in that square. And this is an outcome that we've seen before: 25% superform, 50% single gene form, and 25% probability of a normal. So right there you can see that in this pairing she is actually a 1 in 4 for the sable part of the pairing. There's pinstripe in the equation as well. So if we look at the pinstripe, 1 copy of the pinstripe gene, and it doesn't really matter which of the parents were pinstripe. So here's the pinstripe equation: 1 copy, 1 copy, 1 copy, 1 copy, no copies, no copies. So 2 normals, 2 pinstripe. 50% probability of it being a pinstripe. So there's a 25% probability of the super sable from the sable to sable pairing, and a 50% probability of the babies being pinstripe. So 50% of 25% is 12.5%, which is 1 in 8. There is a 1 in 8 probability of producing a camo sable from a sable pinstripe to sable pairing. And again, the super form makes the snake more valuable to a breeder, and the fact that it is a 1 in 8 probability again explains why this snake is a little more expensive than some of the more common genes that are available out there. So it's a super sable pinstripe. So what does that mean in terms of what offspring she can produce? We've seen what the parents are. It's a sable to a sable pin. She is a super sable, so she's the female, so we'll stick with the female side over here. So super sable and pinstripe, 1 copy of the pinstripe gene. So you can see immediately that even if we breed her to a normal, that all her offspring will carry the sable gene. So right there is the power of the super form. So all of her babies will carry the sable gene. 100% probability that all her babies will be sable. When you look at the pinstripe side, there is 1 copy of the pinstripe gene, which, as we've seen before, is 50-50. So 50% of the babies will be pinstripes, 50% will be normals. So for this pairing, you will have 50% of the babies being sable and 50% of the babies being sable pinstripe. That's before you add in any of the genes that her the male that I pair her to will have. So in this case it'll be a Mojave GHI. So I'll leave you to work out what the possible combinations of those are. But for this girl here, all her offspring will be sable, and 50% of her offspring will also be carrying the pinstripe gene. So from a genetic standpoint, very, very powerful. A good snake to have in my collection to start my dark side projects. So let's just take another look at her here before we end the video. Here she is. Very, very dark, but also very pretty. You can see the fading on the belly, some speckling on the underside, but a generally clean belly, and that superb camouflage pattern on the back that breaks up that original pinstripe pattern. Beautiful snake, and I can't wait to mix in GHI and Mojave into this combination and try for the 4 gene animal, the Mojave GHI sable pinstripe. So that's the plan for this girl. That's the reveal, a new gene to Royal Balls, something new to work with, the sable gene. And this is the girl that I picked up a few weeks ago. So she'll be coming out of quarantine shortly. She's already had 1 shed. She's been feeding really well. She's been in quarantine now for about 3 weeks with no sign of any problems. So she'll be coming out of quarantine in a week or so and going into the main collection. So that's the reveal that I promised, and that's the reverse engineering of the genetics and what she can actually do for me in terms of breeding potential. Okay guys, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll see you next time. Just as a side note guys, I'm going to add a blooper clip to this this video. Whilst I was in the process of shooting the reveal with the snake, well, I'll leave you to see what happens, so enjoy. So this project, I do have a male lined up for her when she gets up to size, which will be a good ways away yet, although she is a year old. I expect she's going to gain weight quite quickly. Oops, nice.